So think about this. You've gone into therapy because you're ready to heal and receive the tools that you need to improve your life and your relationships. But what if the same healing tools that you are receiving in your therapy sessions are making things worse? What if therapy isn't working? I find this topic to be a bit taboo. As a society, many of us have come to really respect and revere the field of psychotherapy. I mean, I think back on myself 10 years ago when I was just starting my healing journey and I was getting the advice from other students that, hey, therapy's been working for me. Maybe you should try it too. At the time, that's not what my little ears heard. What I heard was, what you're sharing, it's just too heavy. I can't hold it. And you've got a lot of issues and you need professional help. In other words, you're just too much. But of course, this isn't what was being said. That messaging was coming from growing up in a Caribbean family and being told, we don't believe in therapy. That's just not something we do. And of course, now with the multi-layered perspective and understanding how race and economic status actually can impact our experiences in therapy, some of them were kind of right. But at the time, as a society, we had to collectively normalize mental health and mental health services. But now that kind of puts us in a tricky spot where it actually feels wrong and taboo to admit when therapy isn't working and in fact is making things worse. So hi, I'm Unique Bell. I'm a certified trauma-informed intimacy coach and spiritual guide. For me, a multidisciplinary approach has always been the best fit for my healing journey. And when I eventually did go to therapy in college because my depression had gotten to a point where it was starting to scare me, I didn't actually receive the tools that I needed to understand what was happening in my nervous system and how I could stop my mind from going into this very dark place. I didn't actually get the education and the tools that I was expecting to receive. Granted, maybe if I had let that therapist cook a little bit longer, something would have come out of it, but it simply wasn't a match. And at the time, I didn't even know that I should shop around to find a better fit. Because again, just showing up was a major step for me based on my family programming. And interestingly, the choice that I made at the time to find the tools that worked for me and educate myself on what was going on in my own nervous system actually led me on the path to healing and becoming a healer. And so by now, I've encountered a good amount of clients in my coaching practice who are facing this challenge. They've been going to therapy for years, but their nervous system is still remaining in a dysregulated state. And what that means is that they're unable to fully complete the stress cycle and release the trauma response. When this survival stress becomes embedded and stuck in our body, it's almost like we're frozen in time. What I've witnessed in these clients is that they often feel guiltily stuck in their lives. They may know mentally what they need to do to move forward in order to experience their desires in relationships, in their career, but they can't get themselves to actually take those steps because they don't feel safe. Their body is still in the threat response, is still in a chronic state of dysregulation. And so if you're experiencing this too, maybe you go to therapy, you feel better within the session and maybe for a little while after, but you still return to that chronically dysregulated state and you don't know what to do to help yourself. I want you to know that it's normal, especially if you survived childhood trauma. To understand what's potentially going awry in your therapy sessions, let's take a look at how you ended up needing therapy in the first place. So as you've probably already observed, human babies aren't born fully developed and self-sufficient like other mammals. Unlike giraffes or horses, we're not able to shortly walk after birth. We're not even able to eat solid food. In order to accommodate our massive heads, our big brains, we have to leave the womb partially developed so that we can squeeze through the birth canal. And one of the systems in your body that is not fully developed, and in fact is not technically fully developed until your 20s, is your nervous system, particularly your autonomic nervous system. This is a branch of your nervous system that's responsible for automatic functions in your body, things like breathing, heart rate, digestion. These are things that you do without needing to do them. You don't have to actually think about them. And of course, they are essential for survival. And so when you were born, you had some of the functions of your autonomic nervous system, but not all. One of those functions, which evolution has allocated to our social interactions, is the capacity to regulate. Babies, little children, they're not able to self-regulate. They rely on their adult caregivers to help them regulate. So when they're crying and they're experiencing a big emotion or stressor, they are relying on their adult caregiver to come over, soothe them, and let them know that everything's okay, that they're safe, and help them to bring their nervous system back into a state of calm and regulation. But as you can imagine, that requires a caregiver who has already learned that skill of being able to regulate their own nervous system in order to help the baby or the child to regulate their own. So without a regulated adult, this creates a conundrum. When that child doesn't have the support to help regulate their nervous system, then their nervous system becomes overwhelmed. Instead of discharging all of that stress energy, it actually gets stored in the body. And if this is something that the child is experiencing again and again, then layer by layer, every single time, all of that stress energy gets stored layer by layer, and it creates a chronic state of dysregulation. This can come at a great cost to the child. What can happen when we are in a chronic state of dysregulation is that our window of tolerance shrinks. You can think of your window of tolerance as your green zone. This is where you can function normally and you can handle stress well. In this state, you're able to learn, you're able to connect with others, you're able to make decisions, you have clarity, you're not foggy brained, and you can actually function pretty well. This is where you want to be most of the time. And when you've got a pretty healthy window of tolerance, meaning it's not too small, then you can feel a wide range of emotions while still remaining regulated. Feelings like sadness won't launch you into shutdown, and you can be nervous without becoming overly anxious. Like a teetering seesaw, you can easily manage a little bit of stress, a little bit of up and down, and simply stay relatively centered. However, when life happens and your stressors do become too much, then you are pushed out of that window of tolerance and you enter one of two states, either hyper arousal, sympathetic stress response. It's associated with difficulty thinking straight. You may feel anxious, reactive. You're in a state of mobilization, right? Your body is in that fight or flight response. In this state, you may also feel activated, angry, and panicky. You've got a lot of energy and warmth in your system. And so that's hyperarousal. The other state is hypoarousal. This is where we are immobilized and we are actually potentially experiencing things like dissociation. We're in the freeze response. We may be experiencing depressive thoughts. Here, you might feel shut down, flat, numb, isolated. In this state, it's common to feel helpless and like whatever you do won't make a difference. I know this state really well. And so let's say you're now coming to therapy after years of experiencing chronic stress in your home, potentially traumatic events, and you're now coming into adulthood where you're realizing it doesn't take a lot to push you out into a state of feeling triggered, to feeling anxious, or shutting down and getting depressed. What your therapist is likely doing really well in those sessions is creating a safe space, a space where you can come to and your body knows I am safe to feel, and I may not be ready to feel the full range of emotions because my window of tolerance is quite tight due to experiencing chronic stress in a chronic state of dysregulation. That's just what happens. Our window of tolerance becomes really tight. And so when you come into the session, your therapist, who is holding the role that your caregiver was unable to hold as a child for you, they are maintaining a regulated nervous system and giving your body an opportunity to co-regulate. And so hopefully, if you've got a good therapist, when you go into your sessions, you feel the impact of that co-regulation. Over time, this should expand your window of tolerance, and you should be able to process more emotions and more experiences with your therapist. But if you're noticing that things are staying just about the same, or you may be even getting worse, then something has gone awry. I mean, you came into therapy because you were feeling stressed, overwhelmed, disconnected from your body and your emotions, and it's hard for you even to tell what you want. You probably weren't even sure what you really wanted from life and from your relationships. And after going to therapy for a few months or a few years or a few decades, you're probably well versed in your issues and your maladaptive trauma responses, the coping mechanisms that your body has adapted to survive but are no longer serving you. But here's the thing. Healing isn't about awareness. It's not about just becoming aware of what's wrong with you. When you actually have healed, what that actually creates is choice in your nervous system. You should feel free to make new choices in your life and actually go in the direction towards what you desire. We're not going to therapy. We're not trying to heal to figure out what's wrong with us. We're healing so that we have greater choice in our lives. We're not going on the healing journey to find out what is wrong with us. We're not even healing to become a perfect human. We're healing so that we have choice. And this is why, if you are struggling with chronic dysregulation, feeling stuck in toxic cycles and toxic relationships in your life isn't really your fault. Your nervous system is locked into survival mode and you're not able to make a new choice. So let's look at why simply going to therapy may not be working. Number one actually has to do with a special nerve that plays a major role in your autonomic nervous system and is actually what is switching you in and out of the stress response. So in and out of survival mode. And that is the vagus nerve. This large winding cranial nerve that innervates most of your major organs plays a significant role in dampening or turning off your fight or flight or freeze response. And here's the thing. Vagus nerve cells are 80% afferent, which means they send information and instructions from your body to your brain, and only 20% of them are efferent, sending information from your brain to your body. Which means when we talk about the mind-body connection, we should really say the body-mind connection. Most of that communication is happening from body to mind. And so if you're in a therapy session and you're just talking about your emotions or talking about your trauma, this is not enough to really heal. Or you're working with a mindset coach. We call these top-down methods, and they're often not fully effective for those who are struggling with chronic stress, PTSD or CPTSD, anxiety, or depression. And that's not to say that mindset work or talk therapy can't be helpful. It's just that a bulk of the work needs to also involve the body. This trauma and survival stress isn't just stored in your mind as thoughts, it's stored in your body. And not just that, talking about your traumas can actually make things worse because of reason number 2. If you're not actually working with your therapist to expand your window of tolerance, this means that you can't actually effectively process your trauma. Because by definition, trauma healing work is stressful. It introduces stress into your system. And if your window of tolerance is narrow, then whenever that stress is introduced, it's going to push you out into a dysregulated state, which will only reinforce the stress response and may even re-traumatize you. The deep healing and repatterning work that you desire to do should come after nervous system regulation. It should come after you've received tools to regulate your nervous system and widen your window of tolerance, not just in session through co-regulation, but outside of your sessions, so that this becomes a skill that you have that you can do for yourself outside of your sessions. This looks like both proactive and reactive tools that you can use to maintain your regulation throughout the day and also respond whenever you are pushed outside your window of tolerance. It means getting to know your nervous system so well that you know exactly what to reach for whenever you're entering shutdown or depression, or when you're in an activated state and experiencing irritation, anxiety, fear. And so if you're noticing that you've been going to therapy for a long time, but you're not really improving at the rate that you expected, or things are getting worse, chances are you might have skipped this step. In fact, like me, you probably weren't aware of it. When you have a more regulated baseline, that means that you can go deeper in your trauma healing work. It means you can stay connected in sessions without feeling like you're losing yourself in a practice. It makes things like mindset work, parts work, meditation, hypnotherapy, breath work, all of the other modalities so much more effective. So if therapy isn't working and you felt like you've tried everything, this could be why you find yourself saying, I've been doing therapy for years, I've tried everything, and I'm just not getting where I need to be. You're not being over dramatic or disrespectful to your therapist. It is natural to expect results for the work that you've put in to heal your nervous system. While it's healthy to acknowledge that healing does take time, it's important to recognize when it's kind of taking too much time. And if you're having that feeling that you've tried everything or you've been going to therapy for so long, then I recommend exploring that, because it does take time, but it doesn't take forever. It is an ongoing process, but you should be feeling a difference. And the best healers and therapists shouldn't be creating dependency where you only feel good when you're in the session. You should be receiving education and tools to help you outside of the sessions so that you know how to handle life stressors, you know how to navigate your triggers, and you know how to regulate your nervous system and bring yourself back into the green zone. You should also feel your window of tolerance expanding, feeling like you can take on more responsibility. You can actually manage stress better. Things that used to overwhelm your system in the past no longer do, because you've expanded that capacity to handle stress. You've got a wide window of tolerance and you have effective tools that you use regularly that bring you out of the yellow or the red zone and back into regulation. You know how to help yourself. And I don't know about you, but that is exactly what I wanted to receive when I started therapy. It wasn't what I got, but it's what I wanted. And I eventually did find the tools and I want to teach them to you. Now stay with me. I've got a third reason I'm going to share with you in just a moment. Soften and Replenish is now open. We are starting the new year with the tools that we need to not just survive this year and all the stressors and things that are out of our control in our society right now, but to actually feel like we are flourishing. Yes, things can be challenging, but we have a stable connection to ourselves, we have a stable connection to others, and we know how to access peace, joy, and contentment in our daily lives. I am no longer willing to jeopardize my well-being because being in a chronic state of dysregulation, it is simply too expensive to be in a chronic state of dysregulation. You're not able to think straight. Your body is optimizing for a stress response instead of health and well-being, which can lead to chronic illnesses. It can lead to changes in your bone density, hormonal imbalances, cortisol belly, weight gain. We can't afford it. We just can't. Whether you're trying to improve your health in 2026 or make strides in your career, it all starts with nervous system regulation. That's going to give you the tools to actually manage stress better, improve your health from the inside out so that your body is actually on your side. Your nervous system is actually in the rest and replenishment mode instead of the depletion mode where we're actually using up our internal resources, oftentimes for a threat that never actualizes. We simply can't afford to keep our bodies in the dysregulated state. This work, it's essential. So if you're feeling stuck or things aren't getting better in therapy, then I invite you to come and take the first step that you didn't even know was the first step. I'm going to give you the tools to heal your vagus nerve and to regulate your nervous system. The actual, the very, very first step, it's actually free to you. It's the feelings chart. So this is where you actually want to begin. This is the very first step. It's learning to identify what you're feeling. When you're in a chronic state of dysregulation, when you're struggling with anxiety or depression, then you're likely cut off partially or even completely from what you're feeling and what's going on in your body. This play sheet is going to help you build that foundational skill of interoception, being able to connect with your body again and identify what you're feeling. This really is the very first step. And a lot of times when we have been dysregulated for long, we can build up these ideas that we need to stay calm, right? We can actually stay stuck in dysregulation for longer because we don't realize that it's not that our emotions are bad, right? It's simply that our window of tolerance is really, really tight. And as we begin to expand that window of tolerance and we're letting more of our emotions in, we're at least identifying what we're feeling, you'll notice a color and vibrancy begin to return to your life. You're no longer clenching in fear or hyper vigilant and constantly on edge, afraid of being shot out into the red zone or the yellow zone. So go ahead and get that free download below. If you're someone who finds it hard to even identify what you're feeling on a moment-to-moment basis, or you're feeling pretty numb and flat, then go ahead and get that download below. It'll help you start the process of reconnecting, which is the very first step to healing. And if you're curious what other misconceptions about regulating your nervous system you may be unknowingly carrying, I just created a video on this and I think you should check it out. You might be surprised what trendy ideas you've picked up about nervous system regulation that are actually kind of incorrect. Not kind of, they just are. So go ahead and check out that video. And okay, so here's the third reason why therapy may be feeling a little bit flat. Your progress feels like it's plateaued, or maybe it has made things worse. And it is that we actually need practical steps to manage the stressors in our lives. No amount of tools are going to fix a imbalanced life. You are going to need to do an audit of your life as it is right now. Where is there room to eliminate unnecessary stress and make things easier for yourself? And if this is something that comes with a lot of guilt because perhaps you have struggled with codependency, people pleasing, and fawning, then you'll want support to navigate those inner emotions as you audit your life. So if you would like to add private coaching to your soften and replenish journey, go ahead and apply for private coaching below, and I can't wait to see you inside Soften and Replenish. This is going to be the year that you finally feel a difference. You finally see the results in all the efforts, all the hard work that you've put into healing and improving your well-being. I am so proud of you for saying yes to going to therapy. It is a major step, I know. And now I want to make sure that you're getting the results. You're getting the bang for your buck. Thank you so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you would like more videos just like this. And why not stick around? And why not put the notifications on for next week? Why not tap the notification bell? Because the next video, we are talking about how to restore your lost original soul essence. This is the invisible self that life and your woundings have disconnected you from, but is so necessary if you want to become your most potent and impactful self. I'll see you in that video. What really sets Soften and Replenish apart from all the other vagus nerve programs, books that you'll read out there is that I am actually a trained intimacy coach. And so I'm bringing in my 5+ years of working with Tantra and somatic healing techniques to truly soften and de-armor the body, the heart, the spirit. This is my dual vagal pleasure model for nervous system regulation, and that's what I'm sharing with you in Soften and Replenish. So yes, I'm bringing you these science-backed tools, but we're also blending that unique touch of conscious pleasure. The upcoming program is a 7-week live program. You'll receive 2 live sessions each week. The first is a live class, and the second is a live practice. In the live classes, you'll be learning the various functions of the vagus nerve and also those 3 nervous system states. We're going to go deeper into them. And we're also going to be covering how the vagus nerve may be impacted by your childhood and how it's showing up in your relationships today. And in that second session, that's where the magic really happens. I'll be leading you through a guided practice and teaching you tools and vagus nerve exercises and blending them with my conscious pleasure and deeper self teachings. You can review the full program schedule by tapping the link in the description below. There will be practice variations for all genders and sexual orientations.